Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen.
With me today is abundance teacher and money coach, Jody Lynn Craven.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. So Jody Lynn, we're doing the call the person back thing again this time because we had Melanie Smithson on a few weeks ago, right? And
Yes.
At the end, we were talking about this life between lives thing, which got your attention. And so since it got your attention and you said, well, we got to have her back. Well, okay. So we're having her back. All right. We just did it. Here we go.
Here I am.
I'm so excited.
So Melanie, why don't you give us an introduction to what we're talking about here so that people know, what we're talking about.
Yeah. So the topic today is past life and life between life hypnotherapy. And I think I'll talk a little bit how I came to this work and the difference between past life and life between lives. Yeah. So back, I don't know when it was, 2005 or so, one of my friends, mentors, gave me the book Journey of Souls by Michael Newton and said, this would be a fun read. And of course, my husband read it first and then said, yeah, it's a good read. You'll enjoy it. Read it, So I read the book and I was like, oh, I have to do this. So the book, and there are several others from him, Destiny of Souls, Life Between Lives, and then compilations from people that have done the work with him. But in the book Journey of Souls, Michael Newton talks about his own experience with doing past life hypnotherapy and life between life hypnotherapy. And it's really, his story alone is really fascinating because he was a hypnotherapist and he didn't have really any experience with past lives or doing that work. He actually worked with a lot of people with physical injuries. And he would, in hypnosis, ask them to go to the point when the injury occurred. And often they would remember, falling off a swing at 5 years old or, getting hit by a car at 15, something like that, that held the injury in place. And then he would work with them around what got stuck there. And there's so much around that because when we're in the middle of an accident, we can sometimes dissociate, other emotions come in. So when you work with it emotionally, often the physical will start to dissipate. But he was doing a session, somebody had an injury, and he said, go to the point of when this happened initially. And the next thing he knows, his client is on a battlefield in the 1600s or 1800s. I don't remember the details. And Dr. Newton is like, I don't know what to do with this.
That's a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
So he worked with it exactly the way he worked with things as if they happened in this lifetime. And same as the way he would normally work, the issue dissolved. So he got interested. He started doing more. He started, just working more with past lives. And the reason I actually got drawn to past lives, or the reason I'm so attracted to past lives now, because at one point I thought I would never do past life work because there's enough to deal with in this lifetime. Why go looking into the past? I mean, really,
Don't look for trouble, right?
Who doesn't have enough issues, But what he found, and what I have since myself experienced so many times, is that sometimes there'll be an injury or an experience in a past lifetime that we wind up bringing back with us. And not always. Sometimes, we'll go into the space in between, we'll resolve the issue, we'll come back clean slate. But particularly if we feel guilty, if we come back too soon, if there is any sort of emotional hook to that pain, that experience in the past lifetime, we could be experiencing it again. I think it's really common in phobias. I had a client come to me one time. This was interesting because a young man called me, and for me, young in his 20s, called and said that he'd had these awful stomach issues for 2.5 years. He'd been to almost every kind of doctor you could think of. My husband does really advanced energy work, and he does a lot of muscle testing work. And I'm thinking, well, maybe you should work with Gail, because Gail, works with this kind of thing. But rather than just say that and refer him, I had Gail muscle test me, thinking of the client. And I said, well, should we do a past life, or should you work with him? And past life came up really strong.
Mm.
So we did a past life. We happened to go to his most immediate past life, which is unusual. Often people wind up going to the 1600s, the 1800s. But he went to most recent past life. He'd been shot in the stomach. He was actually on a bridge when it happened. I don't think it was in a war scene. But every symptom he experienced at the moment of the shooting was a description of the symptoms he was experiencing now.
Wow.
And we worked with it. And in a past life, we will also move to the place beyond that lifetime where we process the past life with our guides. And I know I'm talking like, to me, this is common knowledge. So if I'm saying anything that's like, wait, back up, tell me to back up.
Well, the one thing I do want to clarify is past lives. I think people grasp that. When we say life between lives, what do we mean by that?
Yeah. So, so this client almost moved into a life between life session. So a life between life hypnotherapy session is where we go into the space in between lifetimes. So we know that some of us know that we've been incarnated many times. And we've had bodily experiences on the earth or on other planets. But when we're not in a body, we're not dormant. We're doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And those things take all different shapes and forms. And in the life between life session, that's what we're visiting. We're visiting with our guides, we're visiting with our friends, we're visiting the library, we're looking at recreational activities. There's a whole other world that we're experiencing when we're not in bodies.
Okay.
So to finish the client who had the stomach issues, we were just doing a past life, but he slipped into an LBL and his friend showed up and they immediately started laughing at him. And when our friends and our guides laugh at us on the other side, it's always with so much love. It's like they're not laughing at us. They're literally laughing with us and going, oh, that was so silly. But what they said to him is, you were so stubborn. You insisted on coming back before you were ready. And we told you there'd be issues to deal with if you didn't take the time, but you were determined. So that was really what happened for him. He didn't have a long enough time to heal the experience in between lives. In the session, they worked with him energetically and they moved all that was being held. And I checked with them because I'd had this experience before. I said, are you taking all of it? And they said, no, we're taking most of it. We're leaving just enough to remind him not to go into these patterns again. So past life is typically when we're visiting another lifetime. In the way that I work with past lives is I ask people to come with an issue, whether it's a physical issue, whether it's a relationship issue. What phobias are often past life related, because what I'm interested in is how do we make this life better?
Which makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people just want, I just want to know who I was and what I did. Well, go to somebody who does readings for that, because I want to support transformation.
Yeah.
And when we can go to a past lifetime to relieve the suffering that we carried with us from a past life, then that becomes worth doing. The life between life session, this is much more unique. There aren't nearly as many practitioners in life between lives as there are in past lives. So again, this was developed by Dr. Newton. So he started with the past life sessions. People were getting physical stuff. But then what happened, he's facilitating these past lives, and people start reporting things about being home and being with their friends. And he's like, what? So again, again, he's like, well, what are you talking about? What are your friends doing? And well, my friends are congregated in this group, and they're greeting me, and they're so happy to see me. And of course, he quickly realized that he was hearing something that he hadn't heard before. He was, I think, if anything, a researcher, a scientist, like, I got to find out about this. And over the course of his life, he actually facilitated 7,000 life between life sessions.
Oh my goodness.
I know. And, I've been doing this now for 20 years, and I've probably done between 300 and 500 sessions.
Wow.
Your mind is possible, is what you're saying.
Right. It would be like every day for years of doing sessions.
Yeah.
So, but that's what he did. He just, he was so interested, and what he found was so much similarity. People kept telling him almost the same thing about what they were experiencing when they went to the other side. And often, so the way a session is set up is, after we do the regular hypnosis stuff and just kind of get somebody into that soft trance state, we move down into the womb and see what people can remember from the womb, which is fascinating. My own experiences in the womb were very, very, sensory. I could, I felt like this, and I know that I had my mom. My mom was Rh negative. I was Rh positive.
Ooh.
When I was born, when that was happening, there were no drugs for it. So my mom saw my body as a foreign substance and actually tried to kill me. So that was my intro to this world.
Yeah, well, I get that.
You read that? Did I say
No,
this?
I understand what you're saying. I can
Yes.
see why that would happen, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Right. So, I could feel in the womb that it didn't feel safe. That's, it's like my, everything was like alert. But, we all have different experiences in the womb. And sometimes in the womb, we can actually even identify, it's like, oh, I took on mom's fear, or I carried this worry with me, and these things that actually aren't mine, but that got embedded when I first came into a body.
Mm-hmm.
So back to in the session, we go from the womb into, we suggest the most recent past life, and sometimes we go there, sometimes we go somewhere else. And I always tell my clients, it's like, I'm kind of leading the session up until this point, but once we start, crossing over, I start following, because I'm not in charge. Where the guides want to take us is where we're going to go. But we'll go into a past life primarily for the purpose, we'll just check it out a little bit. We won't spend as much time there as if we were doing a past life session. We do that primarily because Dr. Newton found it was easier to cross over from the death scene. Now, that's true for most people. It's not true for everybody. Sometimes people just go and it's like, okay, wait for me. In fact, along those lines, I was mentoring somebody who is a new LBL therapist, and she and I were doing a session, and she had actually never done it like really traditionally. They've changed the way that they do the induction and all of that right now. But I was trained by Dr. Newton, and I mostly follow his protocol. And she was like, yeah, let's do that, because I've never done his way of doing it. So we start the session. We're on Zoom because she's overseas. And we lose connection. And it's not coming back. And this has never happened to me before. It's like I've lost connection and it comes back.
You just haven't hung out around here often enough, because this happens all the time around here. But,
Yeah. So Anyway, we finally get back on, and I said, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. She goes, oh, I know what happened. And she tells me that her guide said, oh, no, we're not doing that. And my client says, oh, no, I kind of want to do it that way. And zip, no more Zoom. So,
Wow. Determined.
determined. So I said, okay. And I said, where are we going? And I just at that point followed her. And she immediately went to that place of meeting with her guides because she didn't need all the other stuff. So,
So Jody Lynn, I mean, a couple weeks ago when we had Melanie on the show, toward the end, that's when we came up with the topic about life between lives. You immediately perked up at that point. I don't know if you remember exactly what you were thinking at that point, but you really perked up at that point. So that's why I wanted to bring Melanie back.
Yeah.
What are you thinking now that you've heard this bit?
I think it's interesting. I've never heard it put that way, the past life versus the life between lives, but it makes sense. And I mean, the only question that really surfaces for me is, how do you know which one to do?
yeah, so there's a couple of things that we take into consideration with that. So if you've never done hypnosis before, you want to start with the past life. You just want to make sure that you can go into a deep enough state of trance. You want to get warmed up. Just do a little exploring that way. Most people that come to me are actually looking for the life between lives. I'm on the Newton website, so that's why they typically are coming in. And as I said before, in a past life, I'll ask people to come with one issue that they want to dive deeper into. In the life between lives, you can bring all the questions. Wow. So, yeah. So that's what most people, right? So the questions that people come to for a past life almost always include, what am I doing here? What am I working on? What's my life purpose? What are my lessons? And to me, it's fascinating. The first LBL, I've done 4 myself. The first one that I experienced, what I experienced was the expansion, the connection, the unconditional love, the knowing of everything, all things. That experience in and of itself, I think, is a reason to do an LBL.
Yeah.
That for me was life-changing. And what I got from that moment was it really didn't matter how much I thought I was screwing up my life. That I was always going to be loved.
Wow.
And yeah, so often people come to these sessions in fear of judgment. And that's not what happens, because we're the ones that judge.
Wow.
That which is beyond this, our guides, our angels, all that is, doesn't. And knowing that, experiencing that, and being able to live life with that experience, being able to remember that, I think changes everything.
Totally.
Jody Lynn, when she said that, you gave a big yeah. Well, what were you thinking when do you remember?
Well, yeah, I think that it reminds me a lot of the words escape me. When you die for a short period of time and then you come back. Near-death experience. Thank you. Yeah, near-death experience, and that's what I've heard a lot of people have experienced. Is that oneness, that unconditional love. I think that truly makes a huge difference. Like going from this small purview that we have of like, oh, I burnt the toast, I'm in trouble, or like like, oh, I'm having this trouble. These like third dimensional, like so human problems. And when you're in that state, I think it would feel like so beautiful that all those little things, there's that phrase of, don't sweat the small stuff and everything's small stuff. I think that would really be precise, the feeling that you would get in that moment, if I was to guess. But I want to do it.
Cool.
Yeah. We're going to do one.
All right. I have a couple of quotes from Dr. Newton. So where is that one that I want? There it is. And I love this, and it speaks to why to do this. It says, our soul may be traveling away from a permanent home, but we are not just tourists. We bear responsibility in the evolution of higher consciousness for ourselves and others in life. Thus, our journey is a collective one.
Wow.
So,
That gave me all the goosebumps. Yeah.
I have another fun quote from him when I was fortunate enough to be at his last training. Where did it go? He says, I have gone to look for myself. If I should return before I get back, keep me here.
So when you do these things, like traditional hypnosis, the way that I've experienced it is, like you go under and then there's some sort of conversation and they fill you in when you come back. Sometimes it's been recorded, whatever was said, and you can listen to the recording. But for you, are you hearing their guides through like their mouth, or are you hearing it like telepathically, or both?
No, they report to me what their experience is.
Wow.
So that said, sometimes people will start channeling their guides. And that's kind of fun because, you can hear directly, they'll say, this one really needs to do this, slow down, do this, do that, but you can hear that it's like the voice changes, the tone changes. So I know when I'm talking to the person who's laying on my couch or is on the screen versus when I'm talking directly to their guides.
Wow.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference because I've had enough people who channel. Well, actually, Jody Lynn channels too. But I've had like David Strickle, who is sort of like an Abraham Hicks. I mean, he channels profusely. It's like massive amounts, and you can tell whether you're talking to the person or you're talking to the entities being channeled.
It's different. Yeah. I have had a couple of people, one person in particular that I'm remembering, actually a couple that I remember, who started speaking in a language. And it was interesting because he came to me and said, sometimes I speak in this language and I don't know what I'm saying. And what if that happens during the session? And I said, oh, well, that's easy. We'll just ask them to translate.
There you go.
And we did, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
wow. What language was it?
Nothing I knew.
Yeah. Well, Jody Lynn, it's like that guest we had. I can't remember what her name was, but she was able to channel different entities from different universes, different galaxies, different planets, and so forth.
Yeah.
And some of the languages were really fascinating to listen to.
Yeah. And I actually work with somebody who is an intuitive who speaks in the language of love. And
that'd be interesting.
Yeah, she'll start, blah, 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 and then she translates for me because I don't know that language. Well, I mean, yes, I know, but I don't speak it.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. So if you're doing a life between lives session, and this person obviously has like a billion questions or whatever, do they tell you all of the questions up front, or do they just have all their questions in their mind, or like how does it work? And where, I mean, you always land up exactly where you're supposed to be. But if something is from, like, I'm thinking about my case, if something is from like this life, or maybe it's a past life, or maybe it's an in-between, or maybe it's in all three, like, how do they know where to go, or where you're going, or you just land there and then that's the perfect place? Or
you really don't have to know.
Okay.
So that said, I do ask people, I prepare them to come to the session with 2 lists. I ask them to bring me the significant people in their lives that they might have questions about or who might show up during the session. And then I ask them to bring a list of questions for their guides and their friends. And sometimes people bring me 5 questions. Sometimes people bring me 50 questions. And the questions as I said previously, they're often, how am I doing? What are my life lessons? What am I meant to be doing? And I want to make a distinguishment about that, because so many people want to know their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a bit of an issue with this. I think too many people are caught in trying to figure out what their specific purpose is. And they feel like they're not doing it right because they're not fulfilling their purpose. And sure, some people have very specific things they came here to do, but most of us came here to become more of that which we are, and to expand love and light and raise the vibration. And you can do that whether you're working as a cashier at a truck stop, or as a therapist, or as a podcast host. It doesn't matter what you're doing. The work that we're all meant to do can be done wherever we are.
Mm-hmm.
That said, lessons are different. So I might be working on the lesson of standing up for myself, finding my voice. Somebody else might be working on the lesson of forgiveness. We all seem to be working on the lesson of letting go.
Yeah, a lot of that.
You've heard me say that before.
Yeah.
Not just you. I've said it. I think many people on the show have said it. This is not a new thing.
Yeah.
It's not a new thing. It's not a new thing. And we all know it. But it continues. And I'll tell you, this is where I come in on the session. So sometimes when we're talking to the guys are talking to the client, they'll say, well, you just need to let go, or let it go. It's not that important. And so at that point, I will often come in and say, easy for you to say over there.
Yeah. Okay.
Hardest to do over here.
Yeah.
So could you show my client the best way for him or her or them to let go?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they'll just open your hands. Sometimes they'll show a balloon lifting up. They'll show some sort of image or help them find it in their body so that what they're saying gets translated. And again, this is where my work as a somatic psychotherapist, I think, is really helpful, because I will coach my clients to find the experience, how that might move through the body, or even in that experience of, unconditional love, I will say, can you feel that in every cell of your body? Imagine taking a blueprint, having that with you for the rest of your life. So the body then becomes the vehicle for bringing into this lifetime what they're experiencing in the session.
That's one of the fascinating things about this subject, because everybody, I believe, has their own preconceptions about what is, in whatever you want to call it, the afterlife, the spiritual realm, the non-physical realm, however you decide to describe it, but also what their connection is to that.
Yeah.
And I think, there's some people who have no interest in considering the question at all. There are some people who are consumed by it. There are people like me who are kind of curious, but not so much more interested beyond the curious. Curious to a point, but that's enough. I don't need much more than that. Different levels of connection. It's different from person to person, and the priorities are different from person to person. Right. And yet, despite all that, this is the part that really catches my attention over and over again. The descriptions of what it's like are so similar. They aren't identical. Yes. There are people who have different descriptions, but even the ones that are
pretty consistent,
they're not all that different.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I find to be fascinating.
Yeah.
Have you found that people have had different past life stories? And what I mean by that is maybe they saw a different person, and this person told them that they did this, this, and this in past lives, and somebody else is saying this. Did you find any discrepancies in that realm?
I'm sorry, I don't know that I'm following the question.
Well, we were just talking about like the description of guides and stuff and places and things like that being very similar. I've noticed that for myself, at least, I've had different light workers, healers, different practitioners that I've worked with. And some of the stories are different in terms of my past life and past lives. There's many of them. So it could be maybe it's that, someone is focusing on this chapter or section of lives and someone saw some that are further away or whatever. But have you ever seen that discrepancy where somebody was like, oh, I did this in my past life and something different comes through?
Well, I'll say a couple things. We'll see where we go.
Okay.
So, first of all, Dr. Newton says we've lived thousands of lifetimes.
Wow.
Thousands. So to be able to say, well, this happened in my past life, but that didn't, it's like, how would you know?
Yeah.
Because we've lived so many times. I actually saw, I can't even remember where I saw this writing, but it was that somebody else said that we've lived enough times that we've incarnated with every other soul at least once. And it's like, oh no, that's too mind-blowing for me. I'll stay with thousands.
I kind of suspect that thousands, I've heard thousands before as well. I've actually been told, I was given a number 1,377 or something like that. But
Yeah.
I suspect that one of the reasons we get numbers in the thousands is exactly the reason that you gave. Because if we're eternal beings, how long is eternity?
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like we can't wrap our minds around eternity. It's too big for the conscious mind.
Yeah.
But that said, oh, bless you. So people will come to me. Bless you.
Thank you.
One more.
Nope, just two.
Okay, we're done.
Sometimes people will come and say, I was told this, this, and this. And when I'm working, I suggest that they let all of that go. And sometimes we actually do go to a past life where this, this, and this is exactly validated. And sometimes we go someplace different. So I don't know that I've had that much opportunity to see contradiction. Now, I will tell you, when I first started doing this work, a couple of the sessions sounded an awful lot like what I knew about the client's current life. And my mind said, oh, they're making it up because it sounds just like this. But then I had a session where somebody was really deep in trance. They may have been channeling, I don't know, but it was pretty clear they weren't making it up. And it sounded very similar to this life. And that's when we started exploring, and I started to see, or was told, that often we repeat very similar circumstances because we are slow learners.
I believe that.
And sometimes we need multiple times at the same experience.
Well, we already know that that's the way the law of attraction, for instance, works. That if you attract something and you don't interact with it, then the universe sends you another copy, and then it keeps sending you copies until you interact with it in the way that needs to be interacted.
Right. And I talk about that in terms of relationship too. It's like, I love the work of Harville Hendricks, the Imago theory work, that we find relationships that are similar to the previous relationship because that's the best opportunity for healing. So, sure, if it's working in this life, it's working in all the lives.
I wonder also how this ties into ideas that I've had and that others have had. I mean, it's certainly not unique for me to have it, but ideas about not just how we're all connected, but how we're connected in a way that there is an information share that goes on. I like to think of it like we're all connected to the same database. See, that's the easiest way for me to understand and appreciate it. And it's amazing to think about, but it's also not terribly surprising because we hear so many different stories that are so similar. So the similarity of the stories, that's what I keep coming back to. The similarity of the stories tells me there's more than just we're going through the same experience. There's a connection of data that's similar.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's, I pulled up some of the notes from sessions that, I feel like speak to all of us. So shall I share some of that?
Yeah, go ahead. Don't just hang it out there and say, well, let's see. Do you really want to hear this?
We really want to hear it.
So this is actually from one of my early Life Between Life sessions with a friend of mine who was so committed to her spirituality and wanting more and wanting understanding. And it was like, there was like a bit of a desperation. I have to get there. Mm. And they were so straightforward and almost, I don't have the right word, but they were so direct. What they said was, give up wanting more. Mm. This is it. This is the ecstasy of God. This is God's passion manifest. If people would just sit back and enjoy it, there wouldn't be so much suffering. All the longing for God denies that this is God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a great, I love that last sentence especially.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, it's like, yeah, give up longing. And that theme has shown up so many times to stop wanting so much and just be.
Okay, well, it's also good from the law of attraction perspective. That perspective is one that says if you're focused on the fact that you don't have it, you're focused on lack.
Right.
You're not focused on the thing itself. You're focused on the lack of the thing.
Right.
And so you keep getting the lack of the thing.
So law of attraction says that. Sedona method speaks to that a lot. Mm-hmm. And Sedona method is all about let go of wanting, because wanting is denying the presence of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious what your friend thought or how she felt when she came out. And they were like, give up the longing.
Right.
Also, do the clients remember the conversation when they come back? Or
yes. So you actually said before people tell you, but when you're in a state of trance, it's not what we see. It's not stage hypnosis, which I don't even know how they do what they do. Hypnotherapy, I describe as a deep meditative state where the conscious mind is kind of sitting at the side watching. Mm-hmm. And what prevents some people from going into trance and being hypnotized, because a lot of people ask that question, I have such an active mind and I don't know that I can do this. When that conscious interference is not that it's too strong, but when the client doesn't know how to separate from it or isn't willing to separate from it. So what I tell every client when we start the session is if the mind shows up and says, you're not doing it right, you're making it up, that can't be, all there is to do is to say to the mind, thanks for letting me know, and keep going. Mm-hmm. And, and I'll tell you, my first past life session that I did, I sat up, the hypnotherapist said, how'd that go? And it's like, well, it was interesting, but I wasn't in trance. And I know now that I was, but it didn't feel like it. It didn't feel that altered. And of course, my mind said, and this is the way I describe this, the conscious mind doesn't like not being in charge.
Yeah.
And when it's not in charge, it's going to try and find a way to dismiss what came through. So it's going to say things like, that's not real, you made it up. But the question I kept asking myself is, why'd you make that
up? Good question.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like it was like me. It wasn't an ego thing. It wasn't like I was so great. And so when you let yourself go with what's showing up and get curious, that's where there's information. But I've had people channeling and being so deep in trance for hours. And then they sit up and they say, well, I feel like I made it up. I said, of course you do.
Yeah.
But you didn't.
Yeah.
Which you know very well, Jody Lynn.
Yeah. 100%. It sounds like when my friend Heather was teaching me to trance channel, the first couple of times you move your consciousness to the side and then get into this state. And I said a bunch of things, whatever. And I remember coming out of it and being like, I remember what we talked about. I was not in a trance. And she was like, you were. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we talked about this a little bit in the last, session about being what's a channel or what's not a channel, or, and I certainly don't consider myself that, but sometimes I feel like I get downloads of information that come out of my mouth.
Yeah, I'm a reluctant channeler. I have trouble believing that I'm a channeler, but I still do it almost on every show. At some point during the show, I just decide to go with whatever comes, and I don't have any previous thought. So clearly I'm channeling, but like you said, the conscious mind doesn't want to acknowledge that. So my conscious mind says, no, I'm not really a channeler. I just kind of dabble a little bit.
Yeah. And I think some people define it differently, but who cares? It's letting wisdom in.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you want to hear a couple more things?
Yes, yes. I remember the first time that I tried live on a show. The way I said it for myself was, if most of the time I'm able to come up with a question, it's usually not difficult for me. But if I ever reach a point where I can't come up with a question, the next time that happens, open my mouth and just see what comes out. And then the time came when that actually happened for the first time, and I remember distinctly what my reaction was. First, I opened my mouth. I stumbled for a moment. Some words came out. There were quite a few of the words. And then afterward, the other person I was interviewing came back with, oh, that's very interesting, and gave me this whole answer. And I'm thinking, what did I just say to him? And like I've mentioned many times, I don't ever play my episodes back, but I had to play that episode back because I wanted to find out if it actually made sense.
Yeah.
And what amazed me is not only did it make sense, it was actually pretty smart.
Yeah.
I have
See,
no idea
and for me, what happens, I'm never not conscious of what I'm saying, but sometimes I'll say something and I'm like, that was really smart. I have to write that down.
Yeah.
So I know it didn't come from me.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to share a few more things.
Yeah.
We become less defined with more awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, where the whole letting go, we become more aware, we have more fun out there. It's like, oh, less definition. I love this one. And this falls into law of attraction stuff. Everything is predetermined and we are constantly the creator.
That's good.
Let's walk both sides of the aisle.
How is that? How? That's the one thing that I struggle with is that.
Yeah.
I actually, I've come to terms with that one, I guess. But I mean, the way I express it to myself is, we are all connected and we're all individuals.
Yeah.
And when I think about it that way,
individual manifestation. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, we can do no wrong, but life won't feel right without going for it. So this is interesting. This one to me really ties into the Course in Miracles, which says you need do nothing, that your worth is already established.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're laying around on the couch all day, we're just not going to feel good about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
This one is do it because it feels good. Pursue joy, not approval.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
That's the basis for your daily dose of happy.
Yes.
That's exactly where that comes from.
Then you'll like this one too. Joy and humor are fundamental. It's the way to experience our true nature. It's a flavor or facet of love. It is a superpower. Playfulness, joy is a superpower. And it's a way of bringing love through and a gauge of our connection to God.
Okay.
There's no need to ever be hard on yourself. The only way to create is to be tapped in. This one comes, and I'm going to tell this story. Back in 2012, when everybody first started talking about the shift, I did an LBL with the spouse of a good friend, and he has a lot of money. And he was really worried about how was he going to protect his money through the shift. And so, and he's done a couple of sessions, and one of the things is I'm going to digress from where I was going, but in the session, he crosses over and he starts talking to his friends and guys, and he keeps saying, well, I don't know. And I was like, what's happening? He said, well, they keep asking me, and it's like there's 6 of them talking to me at the same time and saying, well, what are you trying to prove? Who are you trying to prove it to? What are you trying to prove? Who are you trying to prove it to? He's like, got nothing. And both of us, just cracked up about that. And it was what, a profound, lesson. It's like many of us are trying to prove ourselves to everyone. And why? So that was fun. But in this other session, when, he's asking about how to navigate the shift, they said nothing about protecting his money, much to his frustration. But
not surprising, but still.
Right, because I don't care about that. They gave him 3 things to focus on, which I've shared with many people, because I just think it's like that's what there is for us to do. They said, be kind, let go, and look for what connects rather than what separates. And, I just think like if we could, live with those values and practice kindness and letting go, what connects us, it changes everything.
Totally.
And for me, the whole idea about how do you become kind if you've had trouble in the past, you felt like you just really weren't good at being kind. What I found makes all the difference, at least made all the difference for me, was if I just tried to be kind to somebody else, I might or might not be able to pull it off. But the more that I was kind to myself,
Yes,
the more I didn't even have to think about it.
100%.
I remember after working on myself in that way for quite some time, I remember at one point I was out walking and got into a very brief conversation with a passerby, and the passerby was effusive with her response of how kind you are, and which I had never heard before. It was a shock to hear it. And since I've heard it a lot more times, but it proved to me I hadn't tried to be kind. All I had done was working on being kinder to myself.
Right.
And by vibrational essence, it just kind of spilled over onto everybody else.
100%. 100%. I wrote a blog some years ago. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and flipped it to do unto you as you would do unto others, because most of us are much kinder to the rest of the world than we are to ourselves.
Which says something, because we're often not kind to the rest of the world. It really says something about how we are to ourselves.
There's that too.
Yeah.
But, learning how to be kind to oneself is where the work is, because once you experience it internally, whether it's kindness, whether it's peace, whether it's love, that's when you can bring it into the world, but not before then. And, the song, Let There Be Peace on Earth, I reference this a lot. Let it begin with me doesn't mean let me be the first one to offer peace to others. Let there be peace in here. Because when there's peace in here, that's what I bring out there.
Yeah.
So 100%,
And that's an important distinction too, because we often think of that song for the first time. I know I did anyway. First time I heard that song, I interpreted it the way you described that we often interpret it.
Right.
Until you grasp that it means this other thing, it's confusing, to be honest.
Yes. And I also do want to make the distinguishment that kindness and niceness are not the same.
No.
Just in case anybody needs to hear that.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
We want to equate it very often, but no, they're really not the same thing at all.
No, sometimes kindness is go away. We're not doing this.
Yeah. Wow.
Reminds me of a few things. Is there any more you wanted to go on this, Jody Lynn? Because one of the reasons we brought Melanie back was because you wanted to do this. Is there more?
Yeah, I just think it's so fascinating the quotes that you're bringing up from past sessions that you've done, I mean, the only thing that I'm thinking is I would love to hear stories about how people reacted to the information and that transformation that ensued. Like you said it yourself, you felt it for the first time. How did that continue? Has it continued on, like that feeling?
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely. There's, and not some of it I have forgotten, and hasn't stayed as pronounced in my life.
of course.
But one of the other sessions I was in, I think this was the one when I did the training with Dr. Newton, they showed me my wedding ring, and it was, magnified a lot of times, and it was vibrating. And they were telling me that all there was for me to do was to teach love. And, it's interesting when you have, whether it's under the influence of some substance or whether it's in trance, when you have these experiences in the moment, they're like mind blowing. And then we come back and the conscious mind minimizes it and, says, oh yeah, that's so trite, just teach love. But the experience in the moment was so intensely real and vivid that I got it. It's like, this is my work, teach love, and teach it in all the forms that you do. But it is one of the things I, speak to people about, the difference between going to an intuitive or a psychic, somebody who can tell you about your past lives, somebody who can tell you what you're working on, is that in a life between lives session, it's moving through you. So you are transformed by the experience because you're experiencing it.
Yeah, actually, I think the best intuitives are the ones who try to draw it out of you. And if you're having trouble expressing something, then they help fill in some gaps for you. But they're trying to get you to do the voicing of it.
A good intuitive, yes, I agree.
Yeah.
And I even think channeling, like, I have lots of friends that channel and I channel, and for my clients, I do it consciously. But even the messages that come through, I feel the emotion through the communication because I am the conduit for the conversation. But I find that the words are helpful and transformative. However, like feeling that is the next level of things.
Right. Which is why it's so great that you get to do the work you do, because everything you give to them, you get to have for yourself.
100%. Yeah. And it awakens me as I speak the words or whatever is happening. I'm feeling it throughout my body, and it lands a lot deeper for me and reverberates out in my life. But I've just noticed that disconnect of like, oh yeah, they said it, my guide said it or whatever. And it lands, but it's not that full body experience, which I think is so deep and so important.
Yeah. And even, but even when you're working, the more that you can, hear the words and feel the vibration of the words, that's, and I will tell you, my clients it's what's really cool is that I see transformation in their face from how they came in to how they leave. It's like, you can see stuff has been lifted.
Yeah.
And that's often what they'll report is, oh my God, I just feel like this is lifted. I feel open. I feel light. I feel like I can breathe. I feel warmth. I feel comfort. I feel more understanding. I feel more accepting. And those are the things, that are phenomenal. But sometimes they can't even name that they've been transformed in the ways they've been transformed because of having moved through the experience.
Yeah.
But, I think, and I will tell you one of the things that shows up on some of the Facebook posts and the thing is like, well, isn't this cheating? And I'm like,
cheating?
This is not, no.
You have a book of wisdom.
It's like, this is like, how crazy we are. It's like, we're so attached to working so hard that when help presents itself, we think it's cheating. But they, and I say they like everybody on the other side, all the wise ones, all those who have passed, all our guides, all our friends, all the angels, they want to help us. They are with us all the time. Most of the time we can't hear them.
Mm-hmm.
And when we have the opportunity to hear them, the answer is yes. Yes, please.
And I believe that's actually one of the manifestations of this transition period that we are apparently going through over the last 10, 15 years and continuing for years into the future. I believe one way to describe it is lifting of a veil.
Yes.
The veil is getting thinner so that more and more of us are able to make that connection that we couldn't make before.
Absolutely. I've actually used very similar words to describe it. I think that's what's happening. The curtain is being pulled, the veil is being lifted. And because we need help, God knows. And I think, the more help we can get. Yes, thank you, please.
Well, that's actually a good lead in, because we should tell people where to go to find the help if they want to get the help with you. So how do they find you?
Great. So same website, smithsonclinic.com for this information, /life between lives. And one thing I thought that I could do for your listeners, if anybody, I do have a recorded past life. I have a recording of a past life induction. That's what I'm trying to say. And if any of your listeners would like that, they can email me at melanie@smithsonclinic.com.
So this was an actual client who gave permission to
No client. This is just the induction and kind of talking people through the session. It won't go
okay.
Yeah, it won't go as deep, but it's a great way to start practicing going into trance.
Got it. Okay. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So Jody Lynn, how do you want to tie this one together?
Oh my gosh. I think where I will begin, and who knows where we'll end up. But where I will begin is that it always amazes me how many things that are out there that we can't see, that we can't touch, but that truly impact our lives. And I've seen it from a personal level of channeling and, having guides and angels that I talk to regularly and believing in that and how much that has changed my life. But I think the work that you're doing, as I said before, of bringing it into a full body experience, there's something so undeniable about being in that experience and feeling that unconditional love and joy and all of those things that you were describing that impacts us and then reverberates out into the world. And it is as simple as pursuing joy and raising the consciousness of the entire world, which I think that's what we're here to do.
That's what we're here to do.
Exactly. That's what we're supposed to be doing here. It's really not that complicated. We just humaned it up and made it so complicated. And it doesn't need to be. So thank you, Melanie, for the opportunity to simplify and just
if I can just add one piece based on what you just said. One of the things that came through in a Life Between Lives session for the client around somebody that she had an issue with was we were told that basically she had insufficient information for judging. And we both kind of ran with that, recognizing that we are always dealing with insufficient information.
That's right.
Because we never have access to everything.
No. Can't see everything that's going on. You can't hear everything that's going on. There's so many filters, and there's so much.
And there's so much beyond this. What are the planets doing? And it's like this. There's so much we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the essence of why it is people treat experiences like this, or experiences with like psilocybin, or anything that is more what you might call mind expanding or connecting into the other realm, or however you want to describe it. But people who go through those experiences come out changed in the way you were describing.
Yes.
I think the essence of the change is that by having all of that new perspective, the judgment part is reduced. That's the change.
Yes. because you see, it's like, I don't know what I'm talking about. Who am I to judge?
Yeah, right.
I mean, everything I think I know is made up.
Yeah.
Yeah. The more that I learn, the more I know that I don't know.
Right.
It just really opens up this. It opens up the belief, or not even the belief. It opens up a container to see that we can't see everything, and that things are way more magical than you could have ever imagined.
Right.
So lean into that.
Yeah. It's a mystery.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once again, Melanie, thank you so much. And I'll repeat what I said at the end of the last show. On behalf of the people you never meet who are hearing all this stuff, thank you for the help that you're giving to them, because that's making a big difference as well. But wow, keep doing the work. And I think you already have an upcoming session just from the look on Jody Lynn's face. I can just see it coming.
I'm doing it.
Nice. I also should say I'm doing a free webinar on Saturday, December 3rd on moving through relationships. So again, using the body to let go, and with the holidays coming up. So anybody that wants to jump in on that, that'll be up on my website soon.
Beautiful.
Wonderful.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. Thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere. And we will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.